Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Almost a year ago, I received a message from a beautiful soul that I had the opportunity of meeting in Thailand, and she's seen a recent video of mine. I think it was the morning rituals video, and she asked me about intermittent fasting. I'd mentioned on that video that I usually don't start eating my first meal of the day until afternoon. And so the question was about intermittent fasting and if it could be a problem, especially for women, and what my thoughts on that and my experience was. So today I would love to share with you my thoughts, my feelings, my professional experience as a physician, and my personal experience as a human being on this earth with the whole idea around scheduling when I eat. So, do I practice intermittent fasting? Do I recommend intermittent fasting? To answer that, I want to take you back. I want to take you back 2.5 years ago. I was living in Ojai, California at the time. I was doing a lot of inner work around issues of love, around issues of health. And what I was finding doing this really authentic inner work was that I was having a lot of emotions coming up, and they seemed to be wanting to be processed for me personally in the evening. I was already eating a raw vegan diet, and usually I'd finish my dinner around 6, 7, 8, depending on the day, maybe sometimes 9. I was working in a clinic, and I would come home usually around 6 o'clock and then have dinner. And I was finding just organically that I was having problems digesting well that meal. I found that my emotions that were coming up didn't feel they were fully being processed. During a meditation session, it was just downloaded to me, seriously, and people who meditate understand what I'm talking about. The idea of not having my meal so late in the evening, maybe skipping dinner completely. Now that might just ring alarm bells in your head immediately. But I want to be clear, this was not for me about calorically restricting myself or eating less. I didn't want to eat less food, but I wanted to be able to process my emotions and enjoy my evenings in a way that felt right and digest my meals properly. So intuitively, after that meditation session, I started eating my last meal during my clinic break so that when I got home at night at 6 or 7, I didn't eat anymore. And I felt amazing. And I continue to feel amazing. And then what happened naturally over time was I started being more and more in tune with my body. I became more embodied in the way that I was eating. And that translated to only eating when I was hungry. And what I found as time progressed on my raw vegan diet, my plant-based diet, was that I wasn't hungry when I woke up at 8. Sometimes I wasn't hungry at 9 or 10. So I started to eat only when I was hungry. And I found that naturally I started to eat my first meal around 11 or noon. And I felt amazing. This process just continued to the point where now I usually break my fast from between noon to 1:30 p.m. I have my first meal, and then I have my second meal around from 3 to 5 p.m. in general. And I feel amazing. And it's been 2.5 years doing this, and I have a healthy, beautiful menstrual cycle every month. My flow happens intact. I have not lost my period. I have not lost my ovulation, and that is really important to me. I don't have any thyroid issues. I haven't needed to check my TSH or my thyroid levels because I have no symptoms that make me think my thyroid is affected by the way that I'm eating. I don't have any evidence of adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency. My energy levels are wonderful. My digestion is better because of the way I eat. I sleep much better, which means my recovery is better. I share this because there's a lot of information and misinformation out there about eating in a way where you are eating the bulk of your calories or all your calories in a small window of time, as I am during the day. But I want to be clear about something. I said it before and I want to say it again. I do not calorie restrict. I'm an active dancer. I can't afford to calorie restrict, nor do I want to. I eat enough calories every day, but just in that window of time. And that window of time is not rigid. It's based on how I'm feeling. So some days I will break my fast at noon. Some days I'll break my fast at 1:30. And sometimes I will stop eating at 3:30 or 4. And sometimes because of circumstance or how I'm feeling, it's not until 6. There's a beautiful saying, and I don't remember where I read it, but it says, live by the sun, love by the moon. And I resonate deeply with that. I love to eat when my digestive fire is at its peak in the mid-afternoon. And I love to wind down and do sensual activities and relax with my loved ones, which include myself, in the evening. And I don't want to be processing emotions and winding down while trying to digest my food. For all these reasons, intuitively, through spirit, through a sense of self, I chose this way. I don't necessarily call it intermittent fasting because there are many different types of intermittent fasting, and some of the medical literature talks about intermittent fasting that is calorie restricted, which I do not practice. If you are a woman who feels wonderful eating calorie sufficient way and having an intermittent fasting diet, please continue and you're feeling wonderful. However, if you're a woman who's lost her period, who's no longer ovulating, or who just feels terrible eating this way, reconsider it. It might not be the way for you to do it. But first, make sure that you're eating enough calories before you abandon this way of eating altogether. There's nothing of my knowledge, and I do a lot of medical reading as a physician, there's nothing in the medical literature that shows that intermittent fasting on a calorie sufficient diet is hormonally deranging for human women. That study, in my knowledge, does not exist. If you know of such a study, please share it with me. I just wanted to share this with you because there's a lot of circulating talk about people's experience on intermittent fasting. Do I recommend intermittent fasting? I don't really say those words to my clients or my patients. What I do speak about is embodied eating. What I do speak about is mindful eating. What I do speak about is having a healthy relationship with your food. And when I began to practice mindful eating, embodied eating, eating when I was only hungry, stopping when I was full, and listening to my body, it absolutely healed my relationship with food. And that's what I do. And it might look like intermittent fasting, you might call it that, so be it. Will I continue this the rest of my life? I don't know. I will continue to eat in a way that's mindful and embodied. And if that means intermittent fasting with calorie sufficient meals, I will be happy to keep doing that. So I hope this information and my story is helpful for you. And I just want to recommend and just affirm for you the importance again of truly being in your body when you eat, when you make your food choices, not just about what you're eating, but when you're eating and how you're eating. That will always, always stand you in good stead. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with anyone who you think might benefit from this. And subscribe for more weekly videos.